And also, I really want to showcase how to thin out long hair without making it feel too coney or even too thin. We talked about the fact that when she wears her hair up, it gives her headaches. And it just feels really excessive at this point. I held half of her hair up on her head and I said, feel the thickness of that. So that lets me know that I can thin this out a little bit more back here, but I'm not worried about how much I take around her face frame. And even in that bang section, I can go at it literally from the top of her crown to behind her ear very liberally and not feel like there's no hair when we're done. So in the consultation, we discussed a lot about how short is too short and how much is too much. So what we're gonna do is, because I want to cut this to her natural texture, it's going to be kind of that in between wet and dry cut. And I don't want to say always because it's always different, but this is kind of one of my go-to moves is in this little section. I really love bringing it out at a 90, combing it all directly to center. And if you have to check yourself in your mirror to make sure that you're not over directing too much one way or the other, holding it straight out at a 90, and I'm gonna turn her to the side for you so you can see exactly the motion of my shears using the small teeth of my comb. They always say comb, 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 cut. Because if you get it right to where you want it, the cutting is the quick part, right? But really holding it at the right elevation, combing it exactly where you want it is gonna give you that cleaner line and that more balanced look. Because if it's off-centered, it's gonna be shorter on one side than the other, essentially. So I'm gonna open and close my shears in a rocking motion. So it's a short open, close, open, close. Hold it to the same elevation. And kind of like your tension right here is really important so that it doesn't drop all out of your hand, because obviously we don't want to take too much off. So holding that tension and that finger control when you only have like a little bit left in your hand, and there's just a little bit left over. And because I want the texture to be more like chunky and choppy on the ends, I'm not doing the slide cutting yet. So she's got some cool chunky little choppy shorter pieces mixed in with some of these longer wispy bits. So now we just take a section parallel to our last section with a slight diagonal forward, bringing that section down, and I'm gonna switch to my razor. So combing that section over and into my last section, I'm going to drop it down lower than my last section, and already I see that it feels a little bit thick. So I'm gonna take a channel cut, channel cut, channel cut. It's kind of just like a medium, adding some texture to the ends, but not a super large stroke because we're still in the beginning of the bangs. So if I don't feel balanced in the density of the hair to the other side, you can always go back in. So I'm leaving a little more length and making it, you can see my stroke is pretty dang wide, so it's got lots of texture in there. But it's when you're widening up, when you're like kind of making your stroke larger, there's also shorter pieces in there too. Combing that forward, making sure I have good tension on the hair, because the more the tension you have on the hair, the easier it is that the razor can glide through the hair. And because I know I want this to be pretty extreme, I want like this to be pretty short, and I want, you know, her lengths are really long, but I'm going from short to long in an extreme way. But I still want to be able to see these little short bits and then have it, you know, kind of like all connect all the way through. It's definitely sketchy to have all this long hair on the floor while you're cutting with a razor. I like to use my comb and kind of like wrap the section around to get like a little bit of that twist right in your eye, and then bring it down and just start like styling it. And then I'll also, to help train the bangs while I'm doing the rest of the haircut, I'll add a clip to the top. Because you know, you're cutting the bangs and then they're just like broomstick or acting crazy, and you're like, oh yeah, you just have to train them. So by actually helping train them and showing them how to like set them just a little bit until they kind of get used to that is a good thing. It's like when they put their hair up, these are those fun little detail pieces that just fall right out and add some fun play. Using my razor, fine teeth of my comb, I'm going to make sure and keep this away. And I'm going to add those details from the back to the front, back to the front, front to the back. So what I'm doing is I'm actually creating these kind of like little triangle pieces, and I'm starting out a little bit shorter and getting a little bit longer. Now I do want to add some separation between my bangs and this section because there's just so much hair right here. It's going to be a little bit of an undercut section that's going to help swing and open up her face and all of the layers. So as I kind of visually take a look at this next piece that falls more forward, I see that it lands kind of in between here. You kind of just, as you're working through, are combing, 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 letting the curl fall, and visually seeing where that's gonna fall, right there. And so I can take a nice slide cut down the center to lighten that load of just that one section. See how it kind of breaks it into two and fill in the gap between this hair and this hair. We're gonna bring it forward, kind of using this as our guide. And you're gonna stand in the front. She has so much hair. And only pick up as much as you feel like you want to cut or as much as your hand can hold. So when you comb this down to the side, you can see how it's a very nice steep angle versus when you're pulling it forward, right? So I always like to check it on the side as well to see if there's anything I want to kind of tighten up just a little bit, because that's where her hair is going to fall, right? There are some clients that would not be able to handle this product, like this much conditioner going into their hair. They're calling it the wolf cut, where it's like that like wolfy kind of mane volume right there. So now I'm gonna match this side, the other side to this side, and keep working the style in and keep, like, you know, scrunching it, moving it, styling it, and really kind of feeling it out before we move on. Now, repeating the process on the opposite side, really taking into consideration her wave pattern and also creating balance from one side to the other, as well as working my way towards the very back lengths of her hair. It's just going to be kind of the lengths of the layers in the front, because this is where we're adding that slight bit of disconnection from the front to those back length. And as I work my way up through these diagonal backs, so there's a center back parting and then diagonal backs as I work my way up. So after I establish the lengths, I go back through, and you can see just how high up I'm actually slide cutting out tons and tons and tons of weight. I want to make sure that I stay lower than where I want those ends to kind of pop out and add texture. So if you took half of her hair, and I'm going a little bit higher than that, because I don't mind if there's some pieces that poke out higher than that, but I do want to stay a little bit lower, even though I'm, really going at it. And then through those mid sections is where I went very liberally with my weight removal, and that last little triangle section on the very top of her crown, I just left alone. You can see how the layers are falling, and I'm just giving it a little bit of texture right there and kind of just cleaning everything up, getting it ready to add my final layering and then establish the lengths at the very end of the haircut. So Hannah's hair is starting to expand, which means I'm not going to be able to get a great read on her concave layers or a really great read on establishing her length. Here, here, here. Holding all of that hair in my hand, using that center little piece as my guide, over-directing the hair all of the way forward. And we've already established all of that beautiful perimeter in the front, so you can really see all of that coming to life, and those shorter layers kind of just accentuating her bangs even more, giving it that wolf vibe. There's so many things that you can utilize from this haircut to take home into the salon and use on a lot of your clients.